Welcome to Soccer as We Like It, the Man United direction. And today we are talking about the draw that a lot of us think was fixed, rigged. This is where we are today in football society. This is the where we are. It's all about the money. And this is where we are. This is the eve of the draw of Europa, round of 16, round of 32, knockout. This is not even round of 16, round of 32, which is so far back. No one really cares. Joining me today is Houston's Red Army, Louis, the passionate one. How are you, mate?
Always good, brother. How you been, Mr. Tim?
I
That
I I,
says
I
it all,
looked at it
doesn't it?
today like, you know
Doesn't
what?
it, man? It
These
says
guys
it
never
all.
disappoint. They never disappoint. So
Yeah,
when you
man.
saw it today, what was going through your mind like?
So I didn't see the draw live,
Right.
right? I was actually watching the reaction from Goldbridge because
Yeah.
I saw something online that said he had this reaction about the actual draw.
Mm.
And he was like, go back and look at it, go back and look at it. And basically what he was saying is that when they took the pod, right, the ball, when they
Mm.
took and they put them into the pots, it looked like, and I watched it back, and I kind of saw what he was saying. It's conspiracy, right? It's maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's like he kind of like you can clearly see which ball is which as he's like individually putting the ball from the pot into the bowl to select. So then he kind of does his little thing, right? Swirls it around. But you can make an argument that he knew which ball he was going for.
Oh
In
yes.
my opinion, every draw in every FIFA competition has been fixed since the dawn of time. I mean,
Right.
that's always just. I mean, it's very clear when it comes to I watch the Gold Cup a lot. Here in North
Mm.
America,
Mm.
it's always been very clear how they want that final to turn out, right? That Mexico
Right.
US final. They always
Yes.
want the big money final.
Right.
I think it it's been Mexico US, I think, every final except for like maybe three in the last like 12 years or something like that.
Really?
Two or three in the
Wow.
last 12 years. It's something high like that. It's ridiculously high. And I mean, like, I feel like UEFA Champions League is definitely the same way. I mean, there's no reason to suspect that Europa League wouldn't be fixed. It's
Because
just
you can see
it's so clear.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so obvious. And like you say, it's a money issue, isn't it?
It really is because I look at that draw like, I mean, who's gonna go watch Strasbourg in Europa League or Bayer Leverkusen? Who gives a monkeys about them teams? No
Yeah,
one.
right.
But you throw in an aging Juventus side who
Hmm.
um has been
Terrible Juventus side, by the way. They're not even trying
Since
well.
Ronaldo left, the club has
Yeah,
completely gone. It's fast ascending down in the spiral right
yeah,
down. Then you have Ajax, who literally sold everybody this summer and
yeah.
were running their mouth. And look at where they ended up. Who cares
Exactly.
about Ajax? But you throw in Barca with all the scams and scandals and everything they've done. Then you
Yeah,
throw in a new rebuilding Man United team. If you look at the whole teams in there, there's nobody else. No, there's nothing interesting there. So they had to find something to make sure it was Man United Barca. Because
yeah,
on a normal round of 32, no one's interested in that.
yeah.
Because it's bad enough it's Europa League. It's
Hmm.
bad enough it's round of 32, not even
Exactly.
quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So you put Man United at Barca, like, oh, okay. Hmm, I'm gonna not watch. I'm gonna watch this one. That's the
Yeah, I
whole
mean
point.
it's very clear that like
It's so
of
clear. I said this two
yeah.
weeks ago. Like, if we end up with Barca, I know it's just gonna be rigged because I had to say seriously, if every
Mhm.
Europa League team that comes second, are you trying to tell me it's only United they'll pick out to play Barca? And they never disappoint. They just
I always feel like every draw that we have is always it's very rare that we get
United's a moneymaker.
it's very rare that we get a Millwall
Yeah,
in the Carabao
yeah,
or
yeah.
or
Mm,
a Lincoln or someone like that. It happens sometimes, but
yep.
I always feel like we're in those draws where you have championship teams and League
Mm,
One teams and that. I always feel that we're always getting Premiership teams in those tournaments.
exactly my
If
point.
I look at the last 32, right, in the Europa League, I think it's very clear who the largest global fan bases are. You know, if you talk about domestic fan bases, maybe not, but you know, Barcelona, Man United, it's very clear that they're the largest global fan bases. Roma is, of course, another huge one globally, because of, you know, what they've done in the past in that.
Yeah.
Juventus, yes, but I feel it's still not as big as either Barcelona or Man United, just historically. So, I mean, I think, you know, it's what do you, I guess if you're a tournament organizer, it's what do you want to see? Do you want to see those teams play later down the line, or do you want to have them play each other right off the bat on the off chance that they don't make it that far? You know, I mean, like as much as I want to see
Actually,
United.
that point, you made a point there. Do they make them meet now, or a chance they might not meet further up?
Exactly. Yeah, because you know you can only go so far before
So
it's
screw it at the bottom. Then it gets there. So
yeah,
look at these ties I have for you. Nantes versus Juventus.
Yeah, nothing.
So
There.
Juventus is playing Nantes, who came second. Then Shakhtar Donetsk against Reims.
That actually might be an interesting game, but it's still, from a global perspective, nobody cares. I think that'll be a battle.
Monaco came second against Bayer Leverkusen.
Who's playing Bayer Leverkusen? Oh, Monaco. Again, could be a decent game, but only because of the local fan bases, not on a global scale. Yeah.
Not on a global scale.
Yeah, not on a global scale.
Strasbourg versus Roma.
Nothing there. Nothing
Then,
there.
PSV versus Sevilla.
Nah, nothing there. Nothing there. I feel like that's actually going to be pretty one-sided. I think PSV have been doing okay, but I honestly don't see them.
I think Sevilla take them out. Then Ajax versus Union Berlin.
Nothing.
The hell?
Absolutely
I never.
nothing.
Goodness.
Yeah, Union Berlin. Good Lord.
Then Sporting versus
Midtjylland. Yeah.
Midtjylland. Who the hell are they?
Midtjylland. We've played Midtjylland before. It's been a while. We played them.
God. Then Ajax. I mean Barca and Man United. The cream.
Yeah. Again, that's the marquee signing, isn't it? Or the
marquee game. It.
Yeah.
It's so obvious.
Yeah.
I'm. You know what? In my mind, I said the UEFA would do this, but something kept saying, "All right, give it a break." The other teams who came second in the Europa League, they might get Barcelona. But I thought again, these guys, it's all about money.
Yeah.
They're gonna sell the TV rights to anyone. I mean, it's being shown on Paramount, but other TV companies want to buy it and get the rights to show that game. The Spanish channel will be all over it.
The way they do these draws with like the large bowl with like these really big balls that are like clearly marked. It's like there's nothing about watching it on TV that as a viewer I feel like this is a blind draw. Like, you know what I mean? There's you know, it's if it was, you know, slips of paper in like, you know, one of those like rotary things like they used to do back in the day, right? And like you reach in and you grab that's a little bit different. But I mean, it's just on an open table with a very large open bowl. There's nothing covering it. Like, dude's not even like covering his eyes or anything. Like, you don't have to make a spectacle about it, but you do have to make it like clearly blind. You have to make it clearly blind. And it's just so open and so obvious. Like if you're watching it on the TV, he pulls out his hand and like before he even opens it up, like you can tell you're like, oh, that's whatever team that he just picked up. So like in that, you know, when you're watching, when I'm watching Goldbridge back and he's like losing his shit and he's like, this is a farce. He's like, this is a joke. And I'm like,
it is an absolute joke. Point. It's so rigged that it's like, you actually feel.
I mean, and it comes at a time. It comes at a time as well. I mean, and definitely not. It's a little bit apples to oranges, but it comes at a time when FIFA is under speculation for the immense rigging of the World Cup and the World Cup bids and giving Qatar the World Cup and all the crap that's going on there. And I mean, it's just like it trickles down to every major competition, European competition, international competition. You know, there's massive fraud in CONCACAF in America. There's massive fraud in the AFCON and in the CONMEBOL. Like it's getting to the point where you wonder how much longer fans are willing to put up with this kinds of thing. It is the global game. It's everything that I've poured my heart and soul into in my career and in all of that. But you know, when you're talking about trying to go towards a high level, when you're talking about, trying to compete and give it everything you have, when it's taken away from you, when it's just made that much harder just for views and ratings and ticket sales and that kind of thing, man, it's extremely discouraging. And I mean, just from a fan perspective, it's discouraging. So I can only imagine how these guys feel at these top level coaches, these top level players, these top level organizations who try really, really hard to build something. And I think that's what Ten Hag is. I think he's on the precipice of building something very good, but man, these things are not helping. These draws are making it really, really hard.
Very, very difficult. So you look at it from another perspective. So United, if we go back, should have beaten Amanaya by more than one. Goalkeeper was fantastic. Should have beaten Sheriff probably by more goals.
Yeah, definitely.
Had we done that, we would have been able to go through.
Yeah.
But you ask yourself, who wants to watch Sevilla and Barcelona? No one. No. I mean, Real Sociedad and Barca. That's like two local Spanish teams. No one gives a shit. No one cares. So, Man United, they needed that to bring the focus back to, because I've always said, round of 32, because there's so many teams in Europa, nobody cares about round of 32. I start watching Europa, even when Man United not even in it. I start around quarterfinal, semis. Round of 16, 32, no one cares, because you come across some teams like, who are they? Is that a team or is that a password?
Russian Michelin's in your who's another one?
I agree. Every team deserves a break.
Kind of guys,
I agree. Every team deserves an opportunity. But come on now. Come on, please.
I mean, every team deserves an opportunity, but at the same time, it's like it has to be a blind draw. And in that, I think gives teams more of an opportunity. It gives those lower teams more of an opportunity because they can be drawn up against somebody that is more on their level. It is, it's not so much about either pushing teams through or linking up teams that will have a sellout. When it's just so open and obvious, you take away all the foundations of what a good competition is. And that's why people don't like watching Europa League or Conference League or, or Champions League group stage. Like people, they're just like, it's always like, if you look at the Champions League group stages, like when's the last time you looked at a Champions League group and you went, that's the group of death? In the World Cup, you kind of get that a lot, but like there's always two teams in the Champions League group where you're like, those are the two teams that are going to go through. Sometimes there's a third where it's like, okay, maybe they'll battle for second place, but you always kind of feel like who's going to get the.
Yep.
I'm sure there's examples that, where it's like, oh yeah, that's a tough group. But for the most part, it's always two strong teams, two weak teams, and who's going to go through. So people don't even watch the group stage. They, they wait until the round of 16 and that. So it ruins. I mean, it just takes away from competition, man.
It does that. It does. It does.
And that's I do like kind of watching those domestic cups a little bit more, like the FA Cup and those kinds of things, because even though I still think that they do that, they do rig it. I mean, you still have situations where smaller clubs, either lower seeded Premier League clubs, or championship clubs, make a run of it and go pretty far and do pretty well. Even in the U.S. Open, Sacramento just went, did they go to the final or was it the semifinal? No, I think they went to the final. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see that. You want to see those young boys getting the chance, playing hard, with the passion and everything that entails. And when you rig it, man, it takes all the things about the game.
It really does. So you ask yourself, okay, on top of everything, do United really need that stress of playing Barcelona? Not really.
No, no, we don't. Are you kidding me?
So you're telling me
Definitely
United could not play a Bayer Leverkusen, a Sporting, another team that dropped down? It had to be Barcelona.
I mean, the argument I think that people will say, well, it's like, our squad depth is obviously an issue for us. So just being the second seed in our group and then having to play these two extra games. There's an argument there that no matter who it is, it's going to be stressful on us. I mean, and I agree, it's going to be stressful on us no matter what. But I mean, and if you watch it back, like there's like an 8-minute clip of the draw, right? Like on YouTube, if you watch it back, and it's just, I mean, again, I'll go back to the Mans. He made a real good point. It clearly looks like he looks at the ball as he's putting it in. He mixes it, and then he looks at the ball again as he's drawing it. It's just, man, you're taking away from both teams, honestly, because look, Barcelona, I mean, clearly in European competition they're struggling at the moment. And even Xavi said it the other day. He's like, look, Man United is going to be a test for us. I mean, it's gonna be difficult, I think, for both teams. But yeah, man, I think such a draw very clearly for us. I mean, it is easy to say that this is high potential for us to exit the tournament, in the round of 32. It's very high potential. I mean, if you have another club, a lower seeded club, maybe we don't make it past the round of 16, but at least make it there. I think that this is just high potential for an early exit. And man, if you're just looking at it from that perspective, it's not fair. It's just not fair.
It's not fair. That's what comes down to the whole rigging of it. Because end of the day, high potential. Do United really need to play Barca right here, right now? No, we don't have the time for that. We just want to get as fast.
Man. Too many injuries, not enough squad depth. Glazers refuse to buy because they hate us. We're in a really difficult position right now, and to be forced to, and I'm going to say that, to be forced to play Barcelona at this stage, I mean, it could be really damning. It could be really crippling. So if, there's also the other argument, which is like, okay, well, let's play Barcelona. Let's get knocked out now, so we can focus on the Premier League and just put our best foot forward there and focus on getting top 4. Because if, from a realistic standpoint, with the squad depth that we have, we can't, it's going to be very difficult to do both. To win Europa and do top 4, it's going to be extremely difficult. So, I mean, I would rather focus on one than the other. I think that's where we're at as a football club.
So you would rather say United get past Barcelona? Can United get past Barcelona?
I think that if we're going to put our eggs into a basket, it just has to be one or the other. Either we're going to get past Barcelona and put all of our eggs in the Europa League basket, or, we're going to focus on Premier League and then we won't make it the distance in Europa League. But we have to pick one because we cannot do both. I mean, you want to do the best you absolutely can in every competition we're in, but realistically, where we are at right now, just with our depth, with our injuries, with our lack of purchases in January, which the board's already said we're not buying, just with all of those variables, we cannot realistically do both. Of course, I want us to see us win a freaking quadruple. I want to see it happen. I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. So, I mean, if we're going to focus on one, put all the eggs in the basket, let's go kick Barcelona's ass and then just focus on everything Europa League, or maybe take this one on the chin. If we lose, it's not the end of the world. Focus on top 4 and then just that's where we need to go. Focus there.
And that the FA Cup starts in January.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a thing. It's like, if we're still playing Europa League in January,
the Barca game's in February.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying, though. But if we're successful in FA Cup, eventually there's an overlap. Yes. So something is got to give. Is it going to be Europa League? Is it going to be top 4? Is it going to be FA Cup? What is going to give? If the Glazers have a Grinch Christmas moment and their heart grows by 3 sizes, and in January they buy everything that we need, and then we just go out and we just dominate. I mean, I will fund the movie. We'll get Peter Jackson to direct, but I mean, we just got to be realistic. You know what I mean? Something is going to give, and if it's Europa League, I would rather it be now that we fail there and go and just focus on top 4.
It makes sense. I spoke to a few people today, and they said they're just that draw just stinks and reeks of fixed. They'd rather just get out now, face the Premier League, try to get top 4, probably win a Carabao Cup or FA Cup or Europa League. Just let it go. Yeah,
at least with the Premier League, we know who we're playing already. We know what our fixtures look like. We know what our schedule looks like. So, I mean, at least we have that added advantage. But With Europa League, there's clearly there's too many variables. You don't know what the draw is going to be like. You don't know if it's going to be fair. You don't know if it's going to be rigged. So, I mean, yeah, it's if we go out now, I'm okay with going out now. It still sucks. You don't want to lose games, but
I
I
know,
mean,
right?
at the same time, we have to prepare for we have to prepare for Ten Hag's tenure. Let me put it that way. He needs success somewhere because I want him to stay. I want him to stay, and I want him to stay long term. If he's failing in multiple aspects, if he's failing in Prem and Europa and FA Cup, then that's how people get the axe, and I don't want that. You know what I mean? I want him to have success at least in some competition. Domestic competition, I think, is if he has good enough success there, then that at least sees him through as long as humanly possible, and then he gets to build and he gets to do the things that he wants to do. I think we've already seen over the last few games, we've already seen windows in towards what his methodology and what his playing style is going to be like. I think he's a man that wants to win. I think he said it previously. He wants to bring Man United back to the glory days. So and then Delo is another one who said that this could be the team to do it. And I think that's if that's where the focus is going to be, then let's make that the focus. And it's one thing at a time, not trying to do everything all at once. And let's do that.
Right.
So I think that's the direction we need to head.
Whew. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I mean, like I said, Europa League. If it was another team, I wouldn't mind. But just a bus, these guys they just never surprise me. It's just
what it comes down to is we should have done better in our group. At the end of the day, we should have done better in our group. We shouldn't have to be necessarily in this position where we could draw this team. But just the fact that that the video evidence is there, that it's clear that he knew what ball he was drawing. Yeah, it's just it just bums you out. It bums you out as a fan base, but it bums you out as a football fan. I think if you're a true football fan, and look, I know 1,000 of them, right? I know people that are really, really just love the game and they want to see the best possible competition. Everyone has their favorites, but people want to see the best competition. If you're a real football fan and you're taking a close look at that draw, then and there's no banter, there's no taking the piss out of anybody. It's clear. It's clear what happens. Again, I always take it back to the Gold Cup, right? Because in Latin America they call it El Copo Robo, the robbery cup, right? So it's
they call it the what?
The robbery cup or the stolen cup, right? So it's Mexico, Jamaica. Right, it's like 0-0, and then in like the 89th minute, Mexico are awarded a PK. They go through, and then in the very next game, it's against Panama. That's where my family's from, right? So it's against Panama, and there is, it's a really weird handball situation. So they give them a penalty. Panama tie it up. It's 1-1, and they give them another penalty in like the 88th minute, 87th minute, and like even like Messi. I think Angel Di Maria at the time, there was like a bunch of stars like online. They were like, hey, we stand with Panama. That was messed up. They're like, it was clear, it was obvious, it was like, it was, and
because FIFA just want that a good team.
They just want to push through that team where they know that'll sell tickets. Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of Panamanians here in the US. We're not filling up a stadium. I'm sorry. We're just not like, there's not that many of us, we're here, but we're not here like that, so, it's very clear, you know what I mean, that's the direction that they want to head in. I think this FIFA World Cup is, it's completely indicative of that corruption. At the time, what was it? It was a long time ago that it was like because it was Brazil, wasn't it? Yeah, Brazil is when they announced Russia and then Qatar.
Yes.
So that's 2014. That's years and years and years ago. And I think Klopp made a very, very good point. And I think Pep kind of made a similar point. He was like, look, y'all didn't say anything back then. We were all saying something, but y'all wouldn't say something. And now that it's here, you guys want to ask coaches how they feel, and you want to ask players how they feel, but you as the media, you as the journalist, you didn't raise the concerns when it was time to raise the concerns. And now the World Cup is less than 3 weeks away. It's too late. It's 2 weeks away. It's too late. you know? So we're going to have this World Cup. It's going to have probably the lowest viewership of any World Cup. It's going to be high because it's the World Cup, but it's going to probably be the lowest viewership in a long time. And, you know, it's probably, you're going to be missing stars, key players, you know, from injuries and all these kinds of things. Apparently, FIFA have asked UEFA have asked the English FA and some other FAs to postpone their last games before the World Cup. So, for example, that Fulham game that we have, postponing that.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just to give those players more time. And it's like this
is what we're saying. That World Cup should not be
completely unorganized. It's just completely ridiculous to try to split a season down the middle with a 2-month-long tournament. Like, it's just like you did not have to do this. Like, you know, it's not like you gave it to a third world developing country. You gave it to a country that is, you know, that has a clear hierarchy and a clear oligarchy where, you know, the certain amount of people that have the most wealth in the country are going to make all of the benefit from that tournament. It's not going to trickle down at all. You're not building infrastructure, or at least not lasting infrastructure. You know, Qatar builds 8 new stadiums. What are they going to do with that afterwards?
Exactly.
What are they going to do with 8 stadiums afterwards?
Dismantling like IKEA wardrobe.
You know, it's going to go the way of the Beijing Olympics, right? Where like they became basically they gave it back to the animals. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's what happened. It happened in South Africa too. Unfortunately, it's like, you know,
So the South African stadiums that were built for that World Cup, did they use them after that?
I think they used Soccer City, which was in Johannesburg, beautiful stadium. I think they kept that one up. I think they might have kept up I think they kept up Nelson Mandela Stadium, because I think that was already an existing stadium, if I'm not mistaken. I might be incorrect on that. But for the most part, no, those stadiums are completely deteriorated. You know, the what do you call it? The growth, the plant growth, the vegetation grew back. You know, there's no power, no water, no anything going towards those stadiums. They're not being used for anything. You know, it's the same thing in China. You know, there was a big controversy after the Beijing Olympics because the windmills and the hydro plants and the things that they were using to say that they were building green energy, they were either dismantled afterwards or they were never operational. They looked like they were operational, but they were never operational. The stadiums are not being used anymore. Again, they're deteriorating. With Russia, luckily, because I was in Russia, I went to watch Panama play. I went to the stadium in Sochi. That stadium was built for the Sochi Olympics, so it has use going in towards the World Cup. Right. Fantastic. I have no clue what's going on with that stadium now. I haven't looked at it or tried to, you know, I would love to go back. It was a beautiful stadium, and Sochi is a beautiful city. But I mean, I don't, you know, with a government that acts the way it does, with a sporting association that acts the way it does over there, you know, it's very clear that people don't want to play in these countries. They don't want to play in these countries. It's high level of corruption.
Very true,
now, turning the mirror at ourselves, right? I'm definitely not going to say that we're above anyone or that we're without corruption. But I think it is very clear that a country with an existing infrastructure is an existing infrastructure and an infrastructure that is going to be used after the fact. I think it's a better use of a tournament, a better use of resources, and a better allocation of funds that somewhat trickle down. Of course, obviously the people at the top are always going to make the most, but to have something like that where it's already set up, a country like England, a country like America, like Australia, that already has the infrastructure, the hotels, the road infrastructure, the stadium infrastructure, it works. Now, if you're going to go in towards a third world country and develop that country and use it, I think that's fantastic. But and I think it needs to continue to happen. But of course, I think FIFA needs to be held to account, and like the International Olympic Committee needs to be held to account to not abandon those venues, to not expect the bare minimum and then turn a blind eye after these tournaments are over. Brazil was another clear example of this,
because they did Olympics and World Cup.
Olympics and World Cup, people lost their homes. People, you know, were forced to move. People were destitute. You know, and thank God Brazil finally got rid of their dictator in their recent election. But I mean, it's just clear that when these organizations, these corrupt organizations like FIFA come in, there's no standard for morality. There's no standard for fairness.
Wow,
And
that's true.
yeah, it's
Very
very true.
correct.
Like, you know, I would love to see, like, I love that, you know, that we're hosting a joint World Cup, Mexico, US, and Canada.
Yeah.
Mexico could have held that World Cup on their own. Canada
Super,
could have held that World
easily,
Cup on their own.
easily.
You
They've
know,
Mexico
I would
hosted
love to.
70 and hosted
Yeah,
86.
exactly. And I think like those types of countries need to be given those opportunities to continue to do that. You know what I mean? I think there are you know, African countries, South American countries that can handle those, but I think that when you have a organization like FIFA that is so corrupt, they only go in and fan the flames. So they have to be held to account, and I'm not exactly sure how we do that yet. I don't know if it needs to be a coalition of governments coming together and saying, "Hey, we got to fucking do something about this," or if it's a coalition of just of just what do you call it, continent federation, so like UEFA, like CONCACAF, like CONMEBOL. Maybe they have to, maybe from a lower level, have to hold the highest level to account. I'm not sure, but
Right.
definitely, you know, it just becomes, it just makes you go towards instances like this Europa League draw, where you
Yeah.
see it and you're like, that figures. You know, it sucks to look at the game that way.
It does. It does. It does. I mean, Louis, thank you so much for your input. The Man United play Barca on February 16th and return match on February the
Go get
23rd.
him. Let's go get him. Fuck it.
The players would be back. World Cup would have been over by then. Would have got a World Cup winner. We don't know what condition the players be coming back after that World Cup. United have a game tomorrow, and like you said, they even think of postponing the like. Where in the calendar you're going to fit all these games that have been cancelled? The calendar's literally
I mean,
packed.
like you basically go deeper into the summer, and that's just the only reason I want to postpone the Fulham game is just because, like you said, we got a game coming up already right off the bat. So it's scary to think about it that way, you know. But I don't know, man. A lot of work needs to be done.
Yeah. Man United, Aston Villa, Carabao Cup on Thursday. Your take?
I said, I think in the last time we spoke, I thought that we would lose one of these games, right?
You
I
said.
honestly, I didn't think it was going to be the last one. I kind of thought it was going to be this one coming up, just because of the form that we were on. But it was very clear watching that game that we were so tired. We were
You
so
could
fatigued.
see the
Like
first 20 minutes
it
that
was
they
very
were out the
weird.
blocks like a dog. You know, you go to these dog races, and as soon as the things open, the dogs are out. That's how Villa came at us yesterday.
Yeah,
And
they did. They did, and I think they looked at our run of games, and they hadn't played in I think 7 days. So they
hmm
looked at us and they were like, "Look, man, we got to be on the front foot because they're going to be tired." So if you go in towards Wednesday, you look at some of the changes we made, and it's like, man, these injuries are killing us. Number one, but who do you put in that is not fatigued that can perform? And right now it's really difficult to call it. Like Lisandro Martinez had a horrible game.
Yeah,
He had a
first goal.
horrible game.
First goal.
He is still one of the best center backs in the Premier League right now. But he's played 90 minutes every 3 days.
Mm,
Like eventually he was going to have a bad game. He's only human, and
mm,
that was the game. So is he rested? I doubt it. And who do you put him next to? Do you throw another center back there? Do you change it again? He's already played with Varane, then Maguire, then Lindelof. Like, I mean, it's a difficult one, man. It is a very difficult one. The best thing that I think we can hope for is to play extremely conservative and maybe get a smash and grab. I mean,
right.
if we're going to be optimistic about it, we have to play ultra conservative. And I'm Ten Hag, I'm telling my team, look, man, it's something that we're learning. It's something that we've done well with. It's something that we failed with, but we have to keep the ball.
Right.
We have to
Yeah.
keep it. We have
The
to
goals
keep
we
it.
conceded
We have to
yesterday,
have high
especially the
possession,
first and the
and the
third,
ball has to
were
and the ball
terrible.
has to move. Like I mean, look, I tell my players, I'm like, look, dude, how do you run less in a soccer game? Pass the ball. You want to save energy, you want to run less, the ball has to move, and it has to move well, and it has to move with high quality, high speed. It's not easy. It is extremely difficult. They make it look easy because they're pros, but it is
Yes.
difficult.
I could just imagine. You could
Yeah,
see that they look tired, they look head, they look leggy, they look lethargic, especially when
yeah,
Aston Villa came out the traps, 2 goals in 10 minutes. We're like, pfft.
yeah.
Then United started to find a way, started to dominate because Aston Villa, honestly, they're not a great side. Yes, it's
No, they're not.
new manager bounce. I get it. But at the same time, when you look at it yesterday, Aston Villa, they're third to the bottom. I mean, fourth to the bottom. They were
Yeah.
only not third to the bottom because alphabetically it's A before it's S for Southampton. They got the same points, same goal difference between
Yeah,
Southampton.
right.
So
Exactly.
AS, they put Southampton bottom because of
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But other
Oh
than
my
that, they
gosh,
were
man, it's
rubbish.
embarrassing.
But we we just didn't know what we're doing. And
Yeah.
you saw the goal, first goal,
They
the free kick. I get that.
yeah.
The first
Yeah,
and third
yeah,
goal,
yeah, 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 yeah.
especially the
So
third
I
one,
mean,
that just hurt.
they definitely took advantage of a tired side,
Yes.
and I'm 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 not sure what kind of lineup they will put out for a Carabao Cup. I don't know if they want to try to go far here, or if they want to salvage their Premier League run, because Aston Villa is not a club that wants to be relegated. You
No,
know what
they've
I
been
mean?
around for a while.
Yeah, they've been around for a while. They've been relegated before, but I mean, that's not somewhere that they want to go back to.
Mm-mm.
So maybe they do kind of put out, maybe not academy players, but maybe definitely set
Mix and
rotation
match.
players, a mix of rotational players and starters. So at least maybe you have that as a possibility. But if I'm Ten Hag, do I want to do the same thing? Do I want to put a strong squad out? Because that's what it's going to take to win, or to
Yeah,
win
yeah,
dominant. It's
yeah,
going to take a first team strong squad. Do you want
yeah.
to do it? Do you want to
This
really?
is it's very difficult
It's
considering
extremely difficult. Plus,
it's
I mean, I don't know if you saw the video of Anthony and his family reacting to his call up for the World Cup. Does he even want to play right now? You know what I mean? Does he even want to?
no, I didn't see that. Was it? It was really
Oh,
happy.
yeah. Well, as soon as they saw his name, they're jumping up and down. They're hugging each other. They're so excited, and like it's a huge honor, of course. Like with all the things that are going around the World Cup, it's they want to play. The players want to play there. So do they? Does he? Do those players? Does Casemiro? Does Anthony? Do they say, "Hey, look, man,
Fred,
Carabao Cup, Fulham, we're not about it, fam." Like, you know what I mean? Like we want to go to the World Cup, and we want to be fit, and we want to do well for our country. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be really difficult these next two games, and I think there's definitely some players that have been lacking in some game time that can definitely use the moments. But are they good enough to pull off a Carabao Cup win and a Fulham win? I think that's where we're at right now. So
wow,
optimistic, always optimistic, but
have to
skeptically
be. At
optimistic.
this point, you just have to be.
Yeah,
Well, Louis, it's
right.
been an absolute pleasure once again joining us on this show, talking about the rigged Barcelona Man United, switching and talking and tweaking and saying, "Oh, Barcelona Man United, yeah." Please get a fucking life, useless people. But it is what it is. So we will be looking at that game on Wednesday, on Thursday. I think the game is. I think it is. I think
Yeah, Thursday, and then quick
Thursday.
turnaround on Sunday. Yep, ridiculous,
Jesus,
absolutely ridiculous.
it
Yeah,
is ridiculous. So, but the only good thing is, I think all the Premiership teams play on Carabao Cup, then they all play on
yeah,
the weekend. So
yeah,
it's not just because
yeah.
Europa ended last week for now till after the World Cup again for
Right.
European football resumes again. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure again. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It's been an absolute pleasure playing with you, brother. Thank you so much. And we'll see you after the Carabao Cup. And
All
hopefully,
right, Tim.
if we could get through that,
Yeah,
we'll see how
right.
it goes. I'll see you that. Take care, brother.
Good night, man.
Good night, bro. Take care. Bye.